John Mann, you don't want another referendum. What do you make of Tom Watson's line there? He's saying that Labour Party members are Remainers and the party should be much clearer about backing a second referendum and voting to stay in.
Well, the members maybe, but it's not the members who win elections, it's the people, it's the voters. And Labour voters in Labour-held constituencies take a different view, and Tom's entitled to change his mind because, of course, like me, he voted to have that referendum. Like me, he said he'd honour the result. Like me, he stood on a manifesto. In fact, he had a lot more influence on the manifesto that we stood on than I did, which said we'd respect the result of the referendum. So he's changed his mind, but I don't think that's going to persuade Labour voters in the north, for example.
How many seats would it be, though? And also, you say about Labour voters, actually, even in those Leave seats, a lot of the people that voted to leave weren't necessarily Labour voters, were they? They would have been Conservative voters or UKIP voters as well. And Ian Lavery, who's the chair of your party, he said that he felt that there were left-wing intellectuals in the Labour Party sneering at people who voted to leave. Do you agree with that? Well,
Ian Lavery represents a seat like mine, and in our seats, a majority, a very large majority of the Labour voters voted to leave. In fact, the stronger the Labour area in my constituency, the higher the Leave vote. It's Labour voters in the north who voted leave. And if the Labour Party turns its back on those voters, as Tom Watson's suggesting, then Tom Watson won't be Deputy Prime Minister, Jeremy Corbyn won't be Prime Minister. If it's such a good idea, could I suggest to Tom Watson he tries it out in West Bromwich? He could call a full referendum in his own constituency and test the water, because his voters voted leave, so he could see if he could persuade them. So let's have a West Bromwich referendum, perhaps a full postal vote one would assist with the organisation. I'm sure he could raise the money. Let him test his theory.
How does the Labour Party square this circle, though? Because, of course, you're right, in some seats in the north, Labour voters voted leave. But, of course, in other places, the party has lost out to the Liberal Democrats. It's going to be a problem, an ongoing problem for the party, isn't it?
Well, the country is divided. The political parties are divided. That's a reality. I mean, Tom Watson, if he wanted to be more credible in this, could be saying what Tony Blair's saying, that in order to change the decision on the EU, you have to fundamentally change the approach on immigration. So if he wants to start by changing Labour Party policy on immigration in a way in which the north of England would be a lot happier, that would be a good starting point. Then if he was actually, with his Remain allies, to identify what the question would be, which they still haven't done. So 3 years of calling for a referendum, and none of them's identified what the question should be. That would be a second stage. But I still don't think that will persuade those voters who, under our democracy, used their vote. The majority won, the majority voted to leave, and a large majority of Labour voters in the north. This is going to lose Labour the next general election by a significant amount. And I can tell you this as well, Vicky, that some MPs who've been speaking this morning, I've seen in private what they've said, who've never, ever rebelled, ever, are up in arms about this, because they realise the reality on the ground. They talk to their own voters. They know they're in the north, in the Midlands, it's Labour voters who voted leave, and this will be catastrophic if it ever wants to be a Labour government.
Okay, John Mann, thank you very much.